Gary, what are you doing?
You said road trip. I got some snacks.
It's only a 3-hour drive.
Oh, I better get more.
We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Karen. Welcome to Destination Virginia. This is a very special episode because we finished filming right before the world turned completely upside down due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, like most travel destinations across the country, many of the attractions in Northern Virginia closed temporarily to help protect everyone from the virus. But they are now ready to safely welcome you back with open arms. So if you need a vacation, you're looking for adventure, or just want a change of scenery, check out Northern Virginia. It's a great place to visit in the fall, the winter, or really any time of the year. Here's a message from the folks at Visit Fairfax, the official tourism organization of Fairfax County.
We want you to know that Fairfax County's restaurants, attractions, and hotels are ready to welcome you back with open arms for a fun and safe getaway in accordance with Virginia's safety guidelines. In addition to acres of wide-open parkland, outdoor dining, and one-of-a-kind historic sites, you'll find enhanced cleanliness and safety protocols to make your visit the best it can be. Visit our website at fxva.com to learn more.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to Destination Virginia. We're in Northern Virginia, where today it's all about history.
And her story.
From the military
To women's rights, we'll take a walk through time. Our first stop, the Udvar Hazy Center, an incredible aviation museum where we'll learn about man's first steps into the sky and beyond.
Let's catch up with Docent Denny Smith here at the center. So Denny, exactly what is this place?
I like to think of it as the nation's hangar. It's built.
like
it's
that.
built like a dirigible hangar. You know, the aviation hangar is the size of an aircraft carrier, and the airplanes are on display where people can come in and look at them. It gives you the aura of a hangar that you can walk around and see the airplanes.
What's a good starting point as far as historical span?
The oldest aviation artifact that we have is the Langley Aerodrome, which dates all the way back to 1903. He was a contemporary of the Wright brothers and trying to do the same thing. And it goes all the way up through the space shuttle, which flew until 2011. We do have some earlier artifacts. We got some artwork about early balloon aviation that even predates the 1903 aircraft that we have.
Tell me what you used to do before you were a volunteer here.
I spent 22 years in the Air Force. I flew C-130s in Vietnam, then I was a flight instructor in T-38s, taught students how to fly, got them up to getting their wings awarded. Did that for several tours.
That is awesome. Well, first let me say thank you for your service.
Thank you, appreciate it a lot.
Fantastic. You taught the pilots
Yes,
how to fly the planes.
yes.
We were just talking before we went on camera that how thick is the concrete below the shuttle?
We frequently get questions asked that we can't answer. But that's one of them. I call it stump the docent question. But I found out that the concrete is actually 13 feet thick. I didn't know it at the time, but I know it now.
13 feet to support the weight.
Yes, support the weight of the shuttle.
I love walking in today because I didn't have to bring my wallet out, first of all, to the center.
Right.
Absolutely
Right.
free.
Except for parking.
And as a volunteer here, what is the one thing you look forward to as you come in to do your shift?
I really look forward to the interface with the people that come. We get people of all ages, from little kids to old folks. We just had a tour through here of Iwo Jima veterans. That's an honor to give a tour to those folks. But it's just that interface with the folks that come in is just very special.
And then this is, again, an annex of the Smithsonian.
Yes, we actually say we're one museum, two locations. National Mall building downtown and out here at Udvar Hazy.
I thought what was really awesome was the way that you've displayed the shuttle with the smoke still on the underbelly.
Yes. Discovery has the most time and space of any of the shuttles that flew. If you add up the time, it's just short of a year that it's spent in space, and that's why we wanted it. It did every mission that the shuttle did. I like to ask people when they see it the first time, what strikes them about the shuttle? And one of the answers I get is it's dirty, and it's purposely left that way because it was a space truck. It was a working machine, and we wanted it to look like it has just landed from a mission in space.
Well, it is definitely awesome. That's a great job.
Yeah, you bet.
But Denny, again, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Very
enjoyed doing it a lot.
Let's go look around. There's so much to see.
Okay, well, I'll show you around.
So much cool information, Karen. 13 feet of concrete sits below the shuttle to support all its weight.
Yeah, that is so hard to believe.
I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow.
Absolutely, and we've only just begun our historic tour of Northern Virginia. When we come back, we're gonna check out the feminine side of history, so stick around. Welcome back to Destination Virginia. We are at the Lucy Burns Museum in beautiful Lorton, learning the unbelievable history of some incredible women and the sacrifices they made. Laura, thank you so much for meeting with me. I cannot wait to hear all about it.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you here.
So this is your baby, your brainchild.
Yes, I've been working on it since about 2012.
Wow, so this has been a long work in progress.
A long work in progress.
And why did you decide to get involved with this?
When I retired from the Smithsonian, I was looking around for something challenging to do, and a friend invited me to come and visit, and I was so entranced with the story that I decided to stick around. And year by year, I got more involved, and pretty soon I was in charge of the whole operation.
Wow. And who is Lucy Burns?
Lucy Burns was a suffragist who co-founded the National Woman's Party. It was she and her co-founder, Alice Paul, who came up with the idea of picketing the White House in support of women's right to vote. And they really wanted to bring the message to the Capitol, where the Senate and the House of Representatives would get the message. And more particularly that the President, Woodrow Wilson, would see how determined these women were. He was, in fact, not happy to have them there. And after several months, he instructed police to get rid of those women. They arrested them, and in some cases, they actually brought them down to DC's prison, which was then located in Lorton, Virginia. And they were put in the women's workhouse here. Lucy, she did go on a fast as a way of trying to get people to realize how serious they were. The warden here did not want her to die and become a martyr to the cause, so they force-fed the women.
That's awful.
Which is a terrible thing, where a tube is put down your nose into your stomach and raw eggs and milk are poured directly in your stomach.
Oh my gosh, through your nose. That, I get goosebumps with it. I can't even do the flu test. I mean, and they willingly put themselves in this situation.
They willingly did it. That's the thing that's so hard for us today to realize, that when the women were picketing, they knew there was a strong possibility they would get arrested. They also knew there was a strong possibility that they would go to prison. And they did it because they thought it was so important to get the right to vote. And we have to remember that these were really strong women.
Absolutely. So all my sisters out there, you got to vote. I mean, these women sacrificed everything for that. It's so important.
Voting is so important. We have to honor them.
Absolutely. Well, you've done a tremendous job, and there's even a display that shows you what it must have been like to have been through this force feeding in one of the cells. It's just incredible. And you had that done by, you said it was a student that did that?
Yes, it was a student at George Mason University who did it for a thesis project. She actually created the exhibit, created a soundtrack with some of the quotes from the women who were here.
And now I learned something earlier from you today, which I did not know, and probably a lot of people don't know, is that you don't want to use the term suffragette.
That's correct.
That's correct. And why is that?
The word suffragist means to vote. And the women here in the United States, as well as England, call themselves suffragists. But in point of fact, the press in England started using the diminutive suffragette as a way of demeaning the women suffragists there.
And this year is a special year because it's a very special anniversary, is that right?
Yes, it's the 100th anniversary of the signing of the 19th Amendment. And we have on the floor what the 19th Amendment actually said for women. The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex, period.
Our tour of women's voting history is not quite over. In fact, an incredible memorial honoring the millions of women who fought to win the right to vote is being built right here in Lorton, and I was thrilled to have the opportunity to speak with the executive director, Pat Worth. Pat, I am so excited to be here with you, learning all about the Turning Point Suffragist Memorial. Tell me all about it.
Well, thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here today. Our memorial began as a grassroots movement 13 years ago.
Oh, wow.
The memorial is going to be built in Occoquan Regional Park, which is part of the historic prison grounds where in 1917, scores of women who were picketing the White House were jailed and kept in very inhumane conditions, particularly here at the workhouse. There were over 5 million women who for over 7 decades fought this fight. And what they actually accomplished was the greatest expansion of democracy in a single day that the world had ever seen. Because when the 19th Amendment was ratified, 27 million got the right to vote.
Wow, that's amazing.
So 27 million women got the right to vote.
That's fantastic.
It is.
Pat, thank you so much for all of this incredible information. I can't wait to see it. And make sure you come check out the memorial. What an amazing experience. After speaking with Laura and Pat, my appreciation of the sacrifices the suffragists made has increased tremendously. This is an absolute must-see for anyone interested in learning about the American woman's fight for the right to vote. Now, when we come back, our historic tour of Northern Virginia continues, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Destination Virginia. We're at the Udvar Hazy Center in Northern Virginia learning all about aviation history.
Our Destination Virginia cameras got a sneak peek at a museum dedicated to the Army soldier who sacrificed to keep our country safe. And it's right down the street.
So we are getting a sneak peek behind the new National Museum in the United States Army. We're on Fort Belvoir, but we are totally accessible to the public. There's no security to get in or a gate to get through, and that makes us extremely unique as an Army museum. The museum is a 185,000 square foot building that's going to hold the history and heritage of the United States Army. So through the stories of soldiers, through the artifacts that they carried, this museum encompasses the entire Army story in one building. And the idea of what this museum is about is to connect visitors to the history of the United States Army. And they do that through these exhibits, through these artifacts, through the soldier stories that are told in this museum.
One mission of the Army Museum is to help the average visitor who maybe isn't associated with the military get a little glimpse into that soldier life, maybe feel what it's like to be a bridge builder in the Army, or the math that's behind the calculations that you need to do that cargo drop in the Chinook helicopter and make sure that that box of supplies is delivered exactly to the right target. We have the Experiential Learning Center, which is focused on interactive GSTEM learning activities. We also have some beautiful special events spaces that will allow you to hold special events in very unique environments. The activities here match really well, of course, to K through 12 education groups. but because all these stations and activities are offered at the beginner, intermediate, and advanced level, this is perfect for corporate development, professional development, and team building activities as well. In the Experiential Learning Center, we have a place dedicated for our youngest visitors. It's called Fort Discover. In Fort Discover, that's where children can come in and have active play opportunities where they do hands-on learning at their level. They're still learning some of those GSTEM activities, but they're having fun building a fort, or they're shooting a simulated rocket into the air, talking on a radio through the Jeep to a kid that's playing up in the tower. It's all about experiential play, but learning at the same time.
I hope you make a trip to this museum to see the exhibits, to experience the stories that are in this museum. It is definitely a destination point to learn about the rich history and heritage of the United States Army.
Wow, Karen, that Army Museum is amazing. I can't wait to visit.
I can't either. Men in uniforms.
Men in uniforms, what does that mean?
Oh, Barry, I can't explain it to you.
Okay.
Well, we've learned about women's history and we've learned about military history.
And coming up, we'll bring everything together in one special place. Don't go away. Welcome back to Destination Virginia. We're in Northern Virginia, and Karen, we're on the last leg of our history tour. We've gone from military
to women's history, and now we're at a location that brings it all together. This place celebrates our nation's founding father. We're at George Washington's Mount Vernon.
and we got a chance to talk to Kathy Parkinson, a history interpreter here at Mount Vernon. So we're just outside the doors of the Revolutionary War Theater, so you may hear some bombs going off in front of us here as we talk to Kathy, who is a historical interpreter. And Kathy, I'd never heard that term before, so please tell me, what is a historical interpreter?
Basically, when you come to Mount Vernon, my job is for you to learn things through the information, but also become attached to this national resource, this national treasure of George Washington's Mount Vernon.
It's such an awesome place. And let's start off with, what is Mount Vernon?
Mount Vernon is an amazing place. It's one of the most popular historic houses, in the country. People, after Washington died, it's been a perpetual pilgrimage to visit his tomb. And it's something you physically can't describe. You have to come.
While I've been here, I've learned a little known fact about some women that were integral in the history of Mount Vernon. Tell me about that.
So basically, Washington has no biological kids, right? Martha's a widow with 2 kids. They raised them, and a couple of the stepkids. When both Washington and Martha die, since there's no lineage for George Washington, the estate is handed down through 3 generations of nephews. And it's the great-grandnephew, John Augustine Washington III, who is the last one to have it. So basically, it's 1853, and he can't afford to take care of it. It is falling apart. And, he has a great idea to sell it to the federal government, the first president of the United States, his estate, his tomb, his remains. And the federal government is basically thanks, but no thanks. I mean, you have to, I know. Things are different. The Civil War is brewing. The word preservation in 1853 has no meaning. You probably can go through a whole laundry list. So he tries to, get the state of Virginia, and they pass on it too. So basically, it's a handful of women from across the country. The founder is Anne Pamela Cunningham, a 37-year-old woman who decides, this might be important, right? And so she dedicates her life to saving this place. So basically, it's gonna take the women about 5 years to raise the money, $200,000 back then. So about $6,300,000 in today's cash. Try a fundraiser for that, right?
Wow,
From
that's
my
a
big
lot.
sense. Right, right.
Besides the awesome Mount Vernon itself, what are some of the other things that you can do here at Mount Vernon?
Well, as you talked about, the Revolutionary War Theater,
Yes.
which is a 4D movie, as you hear the bombs bursting, it's really amazing. So you have the Education Center, the museum, and then for folks who've been to Mount Vernon and want more, there are specialty tours. The tour I like, that I give, is Surviving the 18th Century. And yeah, so basically it's based off of questions we get a lot here at Mount Vernon. Where are the bathrooms as far as in the mansion? Did people bathe back then? And if so, how? And then also they're intrigued by the beds because the beds look short, but they are not. They are all 6 foot, except the general's. His is bigger because he was a big guy. He's almost 6'3". So Martha has that bed made especially long, and that is the bed he died in. I mean, that is the bed he died in.
Wow. And how did George Washington die?
It's pretty rough. You know, you think about the French and Indian War, and he has a couple horses shot from under him, and 4 bullet holes in his jacket. But General Washington will get a throat infection, and it's going to take a day and a half. Slowly, it's going to cut off his airways, and he will suffocate. He was 67, and it's
Wow.
rough.
That's
it was really, really rough.
Well, gosh, you are such a fountain of information. I want to
Love
talk
you.
so much more. We're a little short on time, but thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure,
Yes,
my
love
honor.
your passion.
Well, that was fantastic. Kathy knows so much about George Washington and the history of Mount Vernon and the ladies involved.
Oh, she was incredible. But sadly, Karen, we're at the end of our historical tour here in Northern Virginia.
I know, but we've learned so much from women's rights to aviation history and military history, and that's just scratching the surface of this area.
It sure is. And no matter what type of history you're into, come tour here in Northern Virginia. If you'd like to be featured on an upcoming episode of Destination Virginia, get in touch with us and like us on Facebook.
And don't forget to make Virginia your next destination.
So much cool information, Karen.
I was not happy.
Love it. Denny, everywhere I look, I see either a giant plane that used to, they called that the Concorde. His
Yes.
tie was just a little crooked. It just bothered me just a little bit. Okay, sorry, take 2. Sorry, stop. From the military.
To women's rights, we'll take a walk through town. Through town?
Wow.